So you've got a maths exam coming up and you really want to do well. It's actually a lot easier than you might think. It's a lot easier than your teachers might be conveying to you. And right now I'm going to show you exactly the step-by-step process that I would take if I was studying for a maths exam and I was coming up across different topics. I'm going to take you right from the basics. Qualifications, got a 9 in GCSE maths, an A star in maths, and an A star in A level further maths. Let's go. Where are you going to be starting? Okay, so you know what topic you want to be revising, and let's say you're a bit rusty on it. If you really know the theory behind this topic, you can skip this step, but I still think it is really important because even if you think you know the theory, sometimes the way that maths is taught in schools means that you don't really explore it fully, which means you're missing out on these key tidbits of information that would really develop your understanding and actually make it easier for you to tackle questions. So I would really recommend starting with doing this. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull up some videos, or you're going to pull up some worked examples in a textbook. The reason you're going to do this is because you want to see somebody else solving these problems. You want to see how the concepts are applied. Now, my favourite videos are done by TL Maths because he kind of explains the theory and then he'll go on to do the questions. There are so many other platforms that you can use that explain the theory. Seneca explains the theory, Cognito explains the theory. And these are all just generally brilliant. And Physics and Maths Tutor also have really good breakdowns. They'll have printable summaries that you can sort of look at. These don't have worked examples on them, however. So if you are going to use those sorts of things, where it's class notes or PowerPoints that your teacher have given you, all these printable Physics and Maths Tutor summaries of different concepts, different topic areas, you want to supplement that by looking at videos of people actually applying the concepts you will have just read about or just watched and solving problems. Now, the reason you're going to do that is because in maths, there is no sort of intermediate step. With a subject like English, you can learn some content and then we have this intermediate step of understanding where you might use the Feynman technique, you might do blurting, you might be making mind maps. In maths, doing that sort of thing really isn't that helpful because it doesn't actually translate the knowledge into anything that's useful to you in an exam. What's useful to you in an exam is just answering questions. So we're going to move on to answering questions, but don't just go straight to past papers. Don't just go straight to, looking at your exam board, because actually what you want is to make sure that you are not practicing the wrong methods and you want to be trying questions of different difficulty within a certain topic. Now, the best thing, I hand on heart recommend Mad Maths and Physics and Maths Tutor for this. Why? Particularly with Mad Maths, this was my absolute godsend for A-level maths and A-level further maths. The question sheets are basically arranged such that there is one question and then a worked solution, another question, and then a worked solution. If the practice questions that you're looking at aren't arranged like that, I still want you to do one question and then go straight to the answer and have a look at it. Why? Because what you don't want to be doing is replicating the same mistake. Because sometimes I will have gone through a sheet of practice questions and by halfway through I'm thinking, are these definitely correct? I go to the mark scheme and I see that I have made the same mistake in every single one of them. I have reinforced the wrong method in my brain and you do not want to be doing that. And you're never going to do that if you do one question and then straight away look at the mark scheme, answer it, make sure that you've got the correct answer, that you use the correct method. If you use the different method and got the correct answer, why? Was your method still correct? I would generally go with the methods that are being shown to you. Obviously, if your teacher has taught you a different method and you're getting the right answers, that is amazing as well. But I would just clarify with your teacher about that method versus methods that you see online. As you're going through these practice questions, you want to be making cheat sheets. Now, what these cheat sheets are, is they are basically flowcharts detailing how you go from a question to an answer. So maths is broken down really conveniently into lots of really quite distinct topics. So integration is going to be really distinct from vectors, or you might have matrices, or I'm struggling to think of any other mathematical topics. I know there are tons, number, BODMAS, whatever you want to be doing, but each of these you want to be making a cheat sheet. On this cheat sheet, what you're going to have are any definitions, because actually in maths there are definitions, particularly if you're doing a statistics module. Make sure you know those definitions, because those can come up and they're really easy marks for you to get, but most students actually fail to get those marks. They talk about it all the time in examiners' reports. Please don't be a student who forgets to get those marks. So you're going to start with those definitions, you're going to start with any equations that you need to memorise that are really relevant to this topic, but also if you're given any equations on a formula sheet, also note them down on your cheat sheet. Why? Because then you're immediately relating those equations with that topic area, because too many students rely on the fact, oh, I'm going to have those equations, I don't really need to know them. Yes, you don't need to memorise them, but you do need to know the context in which they're applied. And then on these cheat sheets, you're basically going to walk through, okay, so I see a question about integration. I could be using, integration by parts, I could be using integration by substitution, I could be using like a really basic, the normal integration method that you see for like the easiest things like x squared. And you're basically just going to map out how you answer those questions. You're going to do this for all of your topics. If it's something like vectors, you might be thinking, what are the different things I need to understand when it comes to vector-related questions? What are the equations for adding, for subtracting vectors? How do they multiply? How do they actually work? Can I draw diagrams? When should I be drawing diagrams? It's things like this you put in your cheat sheet. And you might be thinking, Erin, that sounds really abstract. I still don't really know how to make a cheat sheet. Essentially, when you come across questions that you find difficult as you're practicing, if you can't really get to the answer on your own, that means you need something about that question on your cheat sheet. So have a look at the answer, the worked solution that you'll be provided on a sort of worksheet like the ones that Madass Math create. And have a look, where does your understanding break down? Where in the working out did you not follow initially? Did you not able to make the connection? It's that step that I want you to put down on your cheat sheet. For example, was it that you didn't understand, you didn't remember a certain identity of integration by parts, or you didn't understand that you could use trig substitution? That sort of thing will go on your cheat sheet. And these cheat sheets are really, really useful because what you're going to do is as you move further and further along, initially, when you come across a question that you don't really understand, you're probably going to look straight to the worked solution. Once you've got a cheat sheet, you come across a question that you don't understand, then you look at your cheat sheet and you think, okay, so which part of this flowchart does this question respond to? Can I use this equation in a certain way? Oh, did I highlight a certain tip or something that I normally forget? Oh, I've forgotten it in this question. I can try and attempt and answer it. Essentially, that cheat sheet is an intermediary between you attempting the question and you looking at the answer. It's aimed to sort of prompt you to get there. Of course, you're not going to have access to it in an exam, but as you use it more and more frequently, you're going to remember it and you're going to become much less dependent on it. So I highly recommend making these cheat sheets. And then once you've done that, that's when you're going to be able to then move on to looking at past papers. This is a final step, but importantly, you can use every single exam board. You don't just need to be stuck on your exam board when it comes to maths, because ultimately maths is maths. Yes, there might be different topics, there might be certain areas that aren't covered in your exam board but are covered in other ones. Make sure you are aware of that if you're going to be using different exam boards. But generally, you can do as many questions as you want. They don't even have to be from British exams. You can look on Khan Academy and look at what the Americans are doing if you really fancy. As ever, with these past papers, make sure you're doing them under time conditions. You're doing it all at once, you're doing it without access to your notes, and you are really putting your all into it to make sure it's sort of a representative example of what you can and cannot do at that moment. And then go back, tailor your revision accordingly. Perhaps you need to alter your cheat sheets, perhaps you need to amend your understanding of a certain topic, you need to go back, watch some more videos, see some people doing more worked solutions. This is a process that you can iterate over and over again to get you closer and closer to the grade that you're looking for. Those are my tips. I hope that they helped. As ever, do subscribe to my channel if this video helps. If you have any further questions, do drop them into the comments and I'll do my best to respond.